The wind does not howl in the desert, it whispers. It slithers through the bones of a half-built fort, presses dust into your eyes, and scratches against your sun-scoured skin like the fingers of something ancient and watching. You haven't eaten today, not yesterday either. The bread's gone, the grain shipment didn't come, and your hands, once the proud hands of a citizen soldier, now tremble over a dented iron pot with nothing but stale water above you. The sky is the color of bleached parchment, endless and uncaring. Below, the earth cracks like dry lips waiting for rain. And this is where Rome sent you. Not to live, but to survive. If you can, if this story settles heavy in your chest or stirs quiet questions in your heart, subscribe and tell me, could you have endured one of the worst places Rome had to offer? The frost did not come with trumpets. It came like a shadow. Behind your breath, curling in the hollows of your boots, settling into the joints of your fingers like regret. You did not notice it at first. You were half asleep, curled in the scratchy wool of your Legion-issued cloak, listening to the drip of melting ice from the barrack roof, the low creak of timber contracting in the cold. But by morning, the stones beneath your feet had stiffened, and a mist that blanketed the valley no longer stirred. The wind had forgotten how to move. Everything was still. Everything was waiting, and so were you. If this story finds its way into your quiet evening, consider subscribing. Let these forgotten voices keep you company again, and tell me in the comments, could you have endured the silence of a world that no longer remembers your name? You have been here for 87 days. Hadrian's wall stretches to your left and right like the spine of some ancient beast, its grey stone ribs jutting out of the moorland, cold even beneath the rare sun. You are a soldier of Rome, or you were once. Now you are a shadow posted to the farthest edge, so distant from the heart of the empire that even the wind seems to have forgotten. Latin dot, they sent you here to keep the peace, but there is no peace, only mud and the groan of timbers, and the slow drip of water from the eaves of your barracks. The walls sweat, the firewood smokes, the meat spoils before it roasts through, and still you rise each day. To the same grey mist curling off the hills like breath from a dying god. There is a man in the bunk beside you, Lucius, perhaps. You do not speak often. There is little to say. He tends the fire, poorly. You patch the holes in your tunic, poorly. You are two men reduced to silence by a sky that never clears, and a duty that never meant anything. At night, he speaks in his sleep. Always the same name. Julia, you have never asked who she is. Some things are sacred, even here. They told you it would be honorable, that the barbarians to the north were wild and dangerous, that your presence here was Rome's shield. But you have not seen a barbarian in nearly 3 weeks. Only birds circling, too low and tracks in the frost that vanish by morning. The real enemy is not a painted man from Caledonia. It is the cold that creeps into your bones and never leaves. It is the rain that soaks you from within, the kind that makes your own breath feel like steam off dying coals. It is time itself, slow, rusted, and indifferent. A letter came last week, or so the centurion said. You never saw it. Perhaps it was for another. Perhaps he read it and burned it for warmth. Or perhaps it never came at all, and he only wanted to see hope flicker in your eyes before it died again. You no longer ask. Hope is expensive in Britannia. The days pass. You mark them with scratches on the inside of your shield, just beneath the rim where no one looks. Each line a whisper, a breath, a name unspoken. You lost your friend Marcus to fever. He shivered all night and spoke in Greek, though he never knew the language. By dawn, his lips were blue. You carried him to the ditch behind the granary. The frost made his body light, like carrying an empty jar. Food is simple here. Hard bread, weevils, occasionally a slab of meat too grey to name. When it is your turn to cook, you boil it with river water and pretend not to notice the sheen. No one complains. Complaining is for those who still believe something might change. Sometimes you patrol the wall. The fog thickens as you climb, wrapping around your shoulders like a damp cloak. The torches along the parapets hiss when lit, as though protesting. Their brief birth. From up here, you can see everything and nothing. Hills roll into more hills, and beyond them, the unknown. Forests dark as ink. Rocks that might be people, and people who might be myths. The centurion says the mist keeps the enemy at bay. You think it keeps the soul at bay. It's not fear that you feel, not anymore. It's a kind of aching stillness, the kind that settles in a man and makes him forget he ever laughed. You used to laugh in Gaul with friends, with wine and music and warmth. It is a strange thing, remembering warmth. Like remembering a story someone told you once, but whose ending you never heard. A raven lands on the rampart. Its feathers are wet. It tilts its head at you. You wonder what it sees. Not a Roman, not a soldier, just a man with hollow eyes and a blade that has not left its sheath in months. You nod to it. It does not nod back. At night, the barracks smell of damp wool and unwashed men. You dream of fire, not warmth, but flames, wild and yellow, consuming your cloak, your hands, your very name. You wake with a start. Lucius stirs beside you, muttering again, Julia, you do not dream of home anymore. Home has shrunk. It is no longer a place, but a memory of sound. Your mother's voice, the clatter of amphory, the bark of the neighbor's dog. These are the things the cold takes first. Sound, and then scent, and then self. Sometimes the silence is so loud you can hear your own heartbeat echo inside your ears, and you wonder, if you screamed, would anyone answer? Would the mist part? Would the gods laugh? Or would it simply swallow your voice, like it swallows everything else? You lie back on your bunk. The straw pokes through the sack. Your cloak is damp. Somewhere, an owl cries out, long and low, as though mourning the night. You pull your knees to your chest. The fire is nearly out. Lucius breathes softly, and the wall stands, silent, grey, eternal. A monument not to Rome's strength, but to her forgetting. The sun hangs low when you descend, not below the horizon, but into the black mouth of the earth. A single rope creaks against your back as you're lowered into the void. Feet scraping the rock face, slick with old sweat and cave moss. Above, the world is gold, warm, breathing. You can still hear birds if you try, but below is silence. A silence that presses in like damp wool, heavy and suffocating. You breathe it in, you carry it with you. The torch in your hand hisses as it touches the shaft wall. The flame is weak today. The oil thinned with water. It dances like it fears the dark more than you do. You weren't born to this dot once. You sold olives in the forum of Squilibus. Once you watched the river shimmer like hammered bronze and believed your life would stretch long and bright. But then came the drought, then the tax, then the guard who said your scales were false. You don't remember the trial. only the shackles, and the name they wrote next to yours. Minius damnatus, condemned to the mines. Now you are here in Lusitania, where the silver glimmers like false hope deep in the ribs of the hills, where men cough up blood and still swing their picks because stopping is worse, where the air tastes like iron and burns your throat like vinegar, where you count the days not by sunrises, but by how long the stone walls hold before they groan, and shift, and bury the slow ones. There are no fast ones anymore. Your hands are cracked, blackened. The nails are split from clawing at rock, and the skin is thinned from the lye water they force you to wash in. You share a chisel with a man named Eno, older, silent, half-blind. You don't know where he's from. You don't ask. Names are dangerous things here. They make you remember that you are still someone, that you had a mother, a sister, a voice. There is no room for such luxuries. Down here, you are only breath and bone. The tunnel hums with quiet agony. Men work by instinct. No one speaks above a whisper. Sound doesn't carry here. It gets swallowed, muffled in damp air. Even your thoughts seem quieter, duller. The walls groan today. Twice already. Once in the first hour, again when the last torch passed your station. It means the rock is tired. It means it might fall, but you do not stop. You swing, chisel, swing again. The silver must come out. It feeds Rome. It adorns the cups of senators. It lines the temples of gods who never come down here. You find a vein. It shines faintly under your torch. A streak, like pale lightning, across the granite. Eno leans in. His one good eye glimmers. He nods. You hammer with care. One flake, two, a third. You collect them in the cloth pouch tied to your hip, counting each like a prayer bead. Each flake is another reason not to be beaten tonight. The overseer comes. He does not descend far, just to the ledge where the slope begins. He holds a whip. He counts pouches. He shouts something in Latin you can barely hear. Someone stumbles. In the lower shaft, there is a sound dull, then wet, then nothing. No one looks. You sleep on stone. No straw, no blanket, just the warmth of your own body, curled tight beneath the shaft's mouth. The darkness never ends. Even when you close your eyes, it waits behind your lids. Your dreams are only deeper tunnels. Once, long ago, you saw a bird's nest in a tree. It was spring. The chicks opened their mouths wide. You remember the color of the sky, the shape of the leaves. You remember this more clearly than your father's face, or your own name. Your back aches as you rise again. There is no sun, no signal that a new day has begun. Only the changing of the guards, and the shuffling of feet, and the cold splash of water across your face. The same water used to clean the tools. You drink it anyway. Today you are moved deeper. Lower shaft, tighter walls, less air. The flame flickers blue now. You cough quietly, like the others. You hide the blood in your sleeve. It stains, but no one remarks. All sleeves are stained. All lungs are red. A boy beside you hums a soft tune, something Greek, maybe. His voice is young, too young for this place. He taps the wall as he hums, keeping rhythm. His pick is too large. He swings anyway. You do not speak to him. You only listen. It's the first melody you've heard in months. It ends when the overseer comes again. The whip is raised. The boy stops. The humming dies in his throat. You dream of light, of warmth, of standing on the surface, and feeling the breeze across your skin. But the wind is a memory, and the sky a rumor. You wonder if the gods have abandoned the underearth, or if they simply never arrived. The torch burns lower, your pouch is half full. Eno breathes heavily beside you, resting against the rock, like it might forgive him. You work slower now. Your muscles tremble, not from fear, but from the weight of every motion, from the truth that even when you bring forth silver, you gain nothing. Your name is written nowhere, you are not remembered, but the silver gleams, and that is enough for Rome. The desert is not silent, it sings, not in voices, but in whispers, in the rustling tongues of shifting dunes, in the hiss of wind against your ears, in the rasp of your own breath echoing against the inside of your throat. You walk not on sand, but on powdered time, every grain once part of something greater, a mountain, a man, a memory. You do not know how many days you've walked. The sun has blurred the calendar. Your shadow stretches long in the morning, shrinks to nothing by noon, and returns again in the evening like a tired promise. You are part of a caravan now, a ribbon of bodies winding through the dry heart of Numidia, where nothing grows and everything endures. Camels grunt, the pack leader coughs. Somewhere behind you, a man mutters prayers into a cloth wrapped around his mouth. You have no prayers left, only thirst. Your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth. Your lips peel, your eyes sting. The water skin at your hip is light, nearly empty. You ration it with your heartbeat, one swallow for every 100 steps. It tastes of leather and dust, but it is life, and that is not something you can afford to waste. They told you it was a trade route, that you'd escort merchants and their wares, that there would be food, shade, coin. They didn't tell you the merchants would die, that the wares would be stolen, that you'd be left walking, not as guard, not as servant, but as burden, a warm body to carry one end of a pole, or the last mule's reins, or a broken crate of dried figs no one will buy. You pass bones white as salt, clean as scripture. The wind leaves nothing behind in the desert, no rot, no scent, just the shape of what once was. A ribcage, like a cage, without song, a skull tilted, as though still searching for the stars. You look away, then you look back. You cannot help it. The bones are all that remain of those who stopped walking. To stop is to die. That lesson was clear on the second day, when the boy from the coast collapsed. He'd worn sandals too fine, too soft. His feet blistered. He cried. They gave him a little water, then less, then none. By dusk, he was buried in a shallow pit beneath a thorn bush. No words, no stone, only silence. Your feet bleed in your boots. You've lined them with cloth torn from your tunic, but it helps little. The sand finds every opening. It grinds against skin, works into the blisters, and settles into your socks like hot ash. Your soles feel like open wounds. You keep walking. The sky turns red before nightfall, not with beauty, but with warning. The clouds are thin, the wind sharpens. A storm is coming. You hear it before you see it. A distant growl across the dunes, low and rising, like the throat of a god clearing its voice. The leader calls out. The others begin to hurry. You do not run, there is no point. The wind hits you like a wall, grains bite your cheeks, sand fills your nose. You wrap your scarf tight, pull your cloak low, and crouch behind a dying acacia. The branches tremble, the camels scream, the storm blinds everything, the world becomes noise. There is no up, no down, only grit and heat, and the soft whimper of the desert as it devours itself. It passes in hours or minutes. You do not know you rise, your mouth full of grit, your skin flayed. The caravan is scattered, some lost, some found. One man cries for his brother, another digs for a water skin that is not there. You help no one, you move on. That night, the fire is small, a single flame curled into a bowl of stone, shielded from the wind by your back and another's. You eat dried dates. You chew each one slowly, as if tasting could make it last longer. A woman hums a tune you do not recognize. It might be from some, or maybe farther. You close your eyes. Behind your lids, the sand still moves. You dream of rivers, of figs, of laughter in the shade of cypress trees. Your mother is there. She pours wine. You reach for the cup, but your hand touches only sand. The morning brings no relief, only heat and the weight of your body and the command to move. The leader points ahead. The dunes stretch endlessly, yellow and ochre, like a painting done in ash. There is no road here, only memory. You adjust the weight on your shoulders. You walk. You think of Rome, not the city, but the idea. Marble temples, cool baths, laurel crowns. You think of senators with oiled beards speaking of conquest. They have never seen this place. They do not know that the roads which carry their spice and ivory are paved in sweat and buried feet at midday. A man collapses. He is old. His eyes are blank. He mutters about Alexandria. Then he says nothing. Someone tries to lift him, fails. They leave him with a little water and a stone for shade. You do not look back. The horizon never changes, but the shadows grow longer. The sand cools. Stars appear one by one, blinking into a sky that feels too big for your heart. You lie down in the lee of a dune. Your limbs ache. Your throat is raw, but you are alive. And tomorrow you will walk again, because that is what the desert demands. The desert in Syria does not bake, it hums. It stretches wide as a held breath, humming beneath your feet, humming in your bones, humming in the parched wind that scrapes across the stone towers like sanded glass. You've stopped hearing the hum, mostly, but you feel it in your molars, in your spine, in the way your fingers tremble when you pour water and half of it misses the cup. This is Ropos, a name that once meant strength, fortress by the river, a jewel set on the banks of the Euphrates. Now it means duty and heat and the slow rot of wood in the dry air. You were posted here last year, or the year before. Time has no edge anymore. It pulls, it thickens, it dries into silence. The sun rises quickly here, as if impatient, and slams against the baked mud walls before you've finished your morning ration. Porridge made from grain long since infested. You do not mind the beetles anymore. They crunch like proof of protein. Your commanding officer doesn't speak much. Not because he's cruel, but because he's tired. You all are. No one is meant to live this far from the green. The river is your lifeline, a ribbon of silver threading through a landscape of rust. Some days it recedes, some days it floods. It is as fickle as the Parthian scouts that haunt the eastern hills, their movements swift and sudden, their arrows black with tar. The fort sleeps in shifts. There is no true night watch. Everyone watches, always. Sleep in Dura is brief and brittle. You dream in flashes. A woman's face, a fig tree, the crash of sandals in a corridor long since buried. When you wake, the dream clings like dried blood. You patrol the ramparts at midday. The stones beneath your sandals radiate heat. You shift your weight from foot to foot, counting the shadows of the date palms below. One of the soldiers, a boy from Crete, barely grown, swears he saw movement last night. Something in the distance, a glint, a flicker. No one believes him, but everyone checks their armor twice before sundown. Your armor has worn thin. The leather cracks, the iron rusts. You polish it only out of habit, not hope. The sand eats everything here, buckles, soles, skin. It gets behind your teeth, under your nails, into your bedding. You once saw a lizard drown in it, swallowed whole, as if the desert were alive and hungry. Letters stopped arriving in early spring. You still write them, sometimes. You sit in the shade, scratching words into wax tablets, carving thoughts into silence. I am well, you begin, though it is a lie. You write about figs you do not eat, gardens you do not see, laughter that does not exist. You seal them. You do not send them. There is no one left to read. You remember the last assault. It came at dusk, swift and bright. Fire arrows sliced the sky like curses. The outer wall fell within minutes. The screams still live in your ear, tucked between your memories like seeds between teeth. Your friend Gaius burned. He did not scream, only looked at you, as if to say, so this is how it ends. It did not end. You rebuilt the wall, with bare hands, with ash, with blood. No marble, no gold, only mud and silence, and the prayers of men who no longer believe. There are inscriptions here, old ones, carved deep into the temple ruins. You sometimes trace them with your fingers. Greek, Aramaic, Latin. This was once a meeting point. Cultures braided together, traders laughing in a dozen tongues. Now it is only you and the humming and the dust. Today you saw a dog thin, ribbed, watching from the edge of camp. You tried to call it. It did not come. It vanished between the ruins like a ghost. You wonder if it ever existed. You wonder the same about yourself. The well is running low. You drew up a bucket and found algae clinging to the rope like rot. The water smells of copper. The medic says it's still drinkable, but he no longer drinks it himself. You sip carefully. You wait for the ache in your stomach. It always comes. At dusk, the sky bruises purple. The sun slips behind the hills, and for a moment, everything feels quiet. Not dead, just paused. The date palms tremble. The river glints. You sit with your back against the tower wall, the stone still warm. You watch the shadows lengthen and think of the sea. Not because you've seen it, but because it sounds like relief. Someone plays a pipe tonight, a broken reed whistle. The notes are crooked like stairs that don't quite reach the door. Still, they rise. Still, they try. You close your eyes and listen. You let the sound fill your chest, not joy, but something close. You sleep, and in your dream, you are walking through a field of barley. No sand, no walls, no orders, just wind and gold and the feeling of being seen. And when you wake, it's gone. Only the hum remains. The wind does not howl here. It moans, low and bitter, as though the cliffs themselves are remembering what they've lost. You wake alone, again. The sea crashes below the crag where your hut sits like an old wound, half-rotted and bone-colored. its roof lashed with netting and prayer. Your fire is cold, the coals long dead. You rub your hands together, not to warm them, there is no warmth left, but because the movement feels like proof that you still exist. This is exile, not death, not punishment, not even vengeance, just silence made into place. The isle is unnamed, or perhaps it once had a name, but the wind has stripped it bare. It lies somewhere in the Aegean, where gulls do not land, and even the salt in the air tastes. Like memory, you were not sentenced for treason. Not exactly, you spoke at the wrong feast. You wrote a line of poetry someone else found offensive. Or perhaps you loved someone the wrong way, a senator's daughter, a friend's husband. You are no longer sure. No one tells you the reason. No one brings you messages. You were simply placed here, ferried across churning water under a hood, handed a sack of barley, and left. You have not seen another human face in 71 days. The fisherman who came once a week no longer comes. Perhaps the waters grew too dangerous. Perhaps the empire forgot to pay him. Or perhaps you are no longer considered worth feeding. Your food supply has dwindled. You soak lentils in seawater now. You trap birds when you can. Crude snares, tied to rocks. You boil seaweed. You chew slowly. There is a single tree, gnarled and bent sideways, clinging to the edge of a ravine. You named it once, Athena, perhaps, or the listener. You can't remember now. You sit beneath it when the sun permits, leaning against its twisted trunk, writing messages into the dirt with a stick. I was here, I mattered. Please remember me. You never remember to wipe them away. They vanish overnight anyway. Erased by wind and salt like every other mark you've tried to leave. Your skin has browned and cracked. Your nails have yellowed. You bathe in the tide pools when the wind allows. Your reflection no longer looks like you. The beard, the eyes too wide. The shoulders sloped from weeks of crouching by the fire. Carving spoons, whittling rope from bark. You keep a book. Not of words. There's no ink, no parchment, but of stones. Each one placed beside your hut in a line, one for each day. Some are black, some red. One is shaped like a tooth. You talk to them sometimes. Tell them what you dreamed. Last night, you dreamed of the forum. Sunlight gleaming off polished sandals. The bustle of trade. Grapes crushed between your fingers. You walked with someone, a friend, maybe, a hand on your shoulder. You turned to speak, but the words were gone. The stone line grew by one this morning. The tooth-shaped stone got. A neighbor, a gull, came today. It landed near your fire pit, hopping once, twice. You whispered to it, "Do you remember the city?" It tilted its head. Then it screamed, a sound so sharp it cracked something inside your ribs, and took flight. You watched until it became a dot in the sky, then nothing dot. At dusk, the sea turns copper dot. The light spreads across the waves like a spilled offering. You sit on the edge of the cliff, your legs dangling over rock that smells of iron and time. You speak aloud, just once, just a name. No one hears it, but still you say it. The stars arrive slowly, no fanfare, just a soft blooming of light across. The black silk of sky. You know the constellations now, not by their Roman names, but by your own. The curved one near the horizon, that's the last dinner. The line of 3, my father's beard. You recite them each night, a litany, a tether. Your voice is hoarse from disuse. You sing sometimes quietly, fragments of songs from childhood, lullabies and festival chants, the kind sung during Saturnalia, when the streets glowed with torches and the poor could speak freely. You hum them to the wind now, to the dark, to yourself. There is a cave on the southern shore. You visit it rarely. It smells of rot and damp, and the tide drowns its mouth in stormy weather. Inside, you found carvings once, lines etched into the stone with something sharp. Not words, just marks. Perhaps another exile, perhaps someone like you. You add your own mark now. A spiral, it means nothing. Or everything, you light your last candle that's wax pulls fast. You stare into the flame. Your eyes sting. You whisper again. Not a name this time, but a question. Am I still here? The flame answers by dying, and still the wind moans, and still the sea sighs, and still you remain. It begins with the scent. Not the rich aroma of fig stands or roasted meat that once curled through Antioch's crowded streets, but something sour, something wrong. You notice it first on a warm morning, when the breeze blows from the east, carrying not salt from the river, but the cloying reek of rot threaded with something almost sweet. You know, even then, before the bells toll, before the priests cry out, that the city is changing. You live above the baker's courtyard, in a room no wider than your outstretched arms. The plaster on the walls has begun to peel. The window sticks. Your sister lies curled on the mat beside the hearth, sweat shining like oil across her skin. Her breath comes in tiny gasps, quick and thin, as if she is sipping air through a reed. You press a cloth to her forehead. It comes away spotted with blood. She does not open her eyes. Outside, the markets are silent. The grapes lie untouched. The chickens no longer cluck in their crates. A dog winds by the fountain, lapping water turned cloudy. You see a figure stumble down the marble road, a cloth wrapped over their face, arms dotted with black bruises. They fall. No one moves to help. You wait for the sound of sandals, the stomp of a guard, the shout of a physician, the rush of carts bringing herbs or oil. But there is only the buzz of flies and silence. They call it morbus ingens, the great sickness. The physicians offer theories. One speaks of bad air rising from the marshes. Another blames foreigners. Another claims the gods are angry, and you must burn offerings on every threshold. You do not burn anything. You do not speak to the gods. You sit beside your sister and squeeze her hand and whisper old stories about your mother's garden. The smell of baked honey bread. The time she laughed so hard she spilled wine across the mosaic floor. Your sister does not respond. By the third day, your neighbor wraps his mother in linen and lowers her from their balcony by rope. She makes no sound. Her limbs are stiff. He lowers her gently, carefully, as though trying not to wake her. When she reaches the street, he ties the rope off and retreats inside. The body lies there for 2 days before a cart takes her away. You have not eaten in nearly a day. The baker's fires have gone out. No smoke rises from the chimneys. The men who once brought jars of oil and sacks of flour now bar their doors and hang laurel branches above them. You know the signs. You hang no branch. There is no point. At night the bells toll. Not once, but many times, echoing across rooftops like the footsteps of giants. You step onto the balcony and see the fires burning on the hills. Smoke coils into the starless sky. A man below drags a bundle toward the riverbank. The bundle twitches once, then it stills. He weeps as he walks away. The priests chant again in the plaza. Their voices are hoarse. They throw herbs into a bronze bowl and speak of cleansing, of purification. A child vomits behind the temple steps. No one helps. The priest does not pause. Your sister speaks at last. Just one word, water. You lift the cup to her lips. She sips. She trembles. Her eyes flutter, then close again. You stroke her hair. It is damp. You say her name. She does not answer. You say it again. You say it until your voice cracks. Then you say nothing. A rat scurries across the floor. You watch it go. You do not flinch. In the following days, the streets fill with ash. It drifts like snow. People burn their linens, their robes, their mattresses. The city smells of smoke and sickness. Your hands blister from washing, from scrubbing your sister's skin with vinegar, from hauling water up to flights. Still, she burns. Still, she fades. One night, she speaks again. This time, Mother, you hold her hand. You whisper that you remember the vines in the courtyard, the orange tree, the way she sang to keep the birds away. You sing now. Your voice is broken, but it fills the room. A lullaby about olive leaves and a boat made of reeds. She does not stir again. You wake before dawn. The light is grey. Your sister is cold. You wrap her in the blanket. You carry her down the stairs. No one stops you. No one sees. The cart at the corner is already full. Limbs twisted, mouths open. You place her gently on top. You whisper her name once more. Then you walk home. You sit beside the cold hearth. You do not light it. Outside, the bells toll again. And Antioch sings its soft, sick lullaby. Beneath the marble temples and golden palaces of Rome, beneath the noise of chariots and the songs of feasts, lies another world, silent, wet, breathing. The Cloaca Maxima runs through the belly of the city like a poisoned artery, its veins slick with waste and secrets. You are part of it now, not by choice. No one chooses this life. You were born above, once, in a room with a cracked fresco, and a mother who sold figs by the amphitheater. You remember laughter. You remember the scent of lamp oil and bread. But the bread stopped. The laughter stopped. And when your father died in the floods, the landlord said the room was no longer yours. You were 7. Now you live below. You scrape the stone with your hands. You use your fingers like brushes, your palms like brooms, clearing the grates, lifting the rot, dragging buckets of human waste through narrow tunnels that twist like intestines beneath. The city, the darkness is not black. It is brown, green, sometimes yellow. When the sunlight trickles in through a broken grate, the air stings your eyes. You wear a rag over your mouth, but the stench still presses against your tongue like spoiled meat. You have not seen the sun in 4 days. The shifts run long, especially during festival weeks, when the nobles feast above and the waste pours. Down like rain, you carry a flat wooden paddle. You use it to clear the flow, to guide the worst of it into the deeper channels. You work beside a man called Drusus. He has no teeth. His laugh sounds like water boiling. He says he's been down here 15 years. You stop smelling it after 5. He tells you. You do not believe him. The rats are bold. They watch you from ledges, twitching. Their whiskers, some the size of small dogs. You learn to swing your paddle quickly. A bite means fever. Fever means death. You've seen men lose fingers, feet, minds. One man, mad with fever, wandered up through a drainage tunnel and was found raving in the forum, weeping about ghosts in the pipes. He never came back. Sometimes the ceiling drips. You do not ask what it is. You do not ask anything. Questions weigh more than the buckets. Questions invite remembering, and memory is a luxury down here. Your hands are always cracked. The lye they make you use to clean them burns the cuts raw. But the stench seeps into your skin regardless. You carry it with you into sleep, into dreams. Even in the rare moments above ground, people smell it. They wrinkle their noses. They step aside. The streets above are loud, bright, alive. You see them only when you haul waste to the pits beyond the walls. Massive ditches filled with refuse and buried beneath layers of ash and lime. You tip the buckets. You gag. You walk back in silence. A child once dropped a bulla, a golden amulet, down a street. Great, she cried. Her mother shouted. They paid you a coin to retrieve it. You crawled for half an hour through 3 turns of muck, scraping your knees, nearly drowning in a runoff. You found it. You wiped it clean with your sleeve. The child didn't thank you. The mother didn't meet your eye. But the coin was warm. You carry it still at night. You sleep beside the lowest channel, where the current is slow. The walls sweat. The ground is damp. You curl your cloak beneath your head and listen to the city above. Muffled thuds, echoes of footsteps, faint laughter like ghosts on marble. You dream of fountains, of clean water, of a bath where no one turns you away. Sometimes you remember your sister. She used to braid your hair, used to sing while peeling apples. She died during the fever years. You buried her in the pauper's field near the Tiber. You were 12. She was 9. You haven't spoken her name in years, but it comes to you sometimes when you pass the older parts of the sewer, the ones with Greek carvings still faintly visible, moss tracing their lines. You whisper her name then. The walls listen. They always do. A cave-in kills a man today. The wall simply groaned, then collapsed. A spray of stone, a rush of filth, silence. You dig with your hands, your paddle, your voice. But the water rushes in too fast. Drusus curses. You curse, but the man is gone. By evening, no one speaks of him. The work continues. The sewage flows. The city never stops, and neither do you. The night begins with the scent of smoke, faint at first, like the whisper of burnt oil on a street vendor's pan. But it thickens quickly, crawling up the wooden beams, slipping through the floorboards, licking at the edges of your woven mat. You sit upright before you fully wake, blinking through the haze, and then you hear it, the first scream. You grab your mother's arm. Her skin is warm with sleep. Her breath smells faintly of vinegar and boiled lentils. She doesn't speak. She knows. You've lived in Ostia's insulae long enough to understand what smoke means. There is no time to gather belongings. The coins hidden in the wall will stay there. So will the comb, the copper ring, the last piece of salted cheese. You pull her toward the door. The hallway is already glowing, a deep, pulsing orange, like the color of dying embers. The wood beneath your feet moans. Somewhere a child wails. The fire is coming from below, from the second floor, perhaps the cookshop where fat drips down into the coals. It doesn't matter. Fire doesn't need reason. It only needs air. And you live on the 5th floor. You wrap a shawl around your mother's mouth. The smoke is thick, hot, and full of ash. She coughs, wheezing between steps. You take the stairs 2 at a time. Your foot slips. You catch the rail just in time, splinters embedding in your palm. The walls shimmer with heat. A neighbor passes. You clutching a baby and nothing else. His tunic is soaked in sweat, his eyes wide with something beyond fear, resignation on the third-floor landing. The flames appear. They crack and spit from beneath the doorframe, dancing in and out like serpents. You back away. The only other route is down the outer stair. The fire escape, built from rusted iron and prayer. You kick the window open. It cracks but doesn't shatter. You slam your shoulder into the frame. Once, twice. On the third try, the glass gives way with a shriek. The alley below is a glowing red river dot. Ash drifts like snow. Sparks flurry across the rooftops. A cart has overturned. A mule lies steaming beside it, ribs rising weakly with each breath. People shout. Buckets pass hand to hand, sloshing pitifully. But water is not enough. You help your mother onto the iron stair. It groans beneath your weight, the rivets complaining. She moves slowly. Each step is a tremble. The shawl slips from her face. Her hair is damp. Her sandals are worn through. You press your hand to her back, guide her down. She mutters a prayer, not to the gods, but to you. Midway down, you look back. Your home is a silhouette now, a black square wreathed in gold. The little table, the oil lamp, the curtain with the sun-dyed birds, all of it is gone. The roof collapses with a roar. A cloud of embers explodes outward, catching the side of the fishmonger's stall below. A woman screams for her husband. You reach the ground. The earth is hot. Your knees buckle. You cough until your chest burns. A soldier grabs your arm, waves. You away from the building. You nod. You keep moving. By dawn, the building is a skeleton, charred beams, smoking rubble. People sift through the ruins, searching for earrings, for shoes, for the broken spine of a saved scroll. A boy carries out a cat, singed but breathing. A girl cradles a burnt doll. Your mother sits on the steps of the bakery, staring at nothing. Find water. Bring it to her. She drinks slowly. The cup shakes in her hands. You say nothing. There is nothing to say. This has happened before. It will happen again. Ostia's insulae are built to burn. Stacked too high, packed too tight. Wood soaked in oil and memory. That evening you return to what remains. The top floor is gone. The walls sag inward. You step carefully over coals, sift through ash. You find the copper ring blackened, bent but whole. You press it into your palm. It burns. Around you, others rebuild. They clear the rubble. They hammer new beams into old stone. The smell of fire lingers, soaked into cloth and hair. But life resumes. A girl laughs at the fountain. A vendor sets up his table again. A mother braids her daughter's hair with fingers still bandaged. Sleep that night beneath the eaves of a stranger's shop. Your mother curls beside you. Her breathing is shallow but steady. You stare at the sky. Stars shimmer faintly through the haze. The city hums, wounded, but not silent, and somewhere, another lamp is lit. They told you Ravenna was a place of beauty, and maybe it is if you see it from a distance. When the morning fog clings low to the marshes like folds of silk, when the birds move like ink strokes across the horizon, the mosaics shine in the basilicas. The water reflects the sky like a mirror that remembers heaven. But you do not live in that Ravenna. You live in the parts no one paints. You live in the wet. The marsh buzzes constantly. It's a sound that never stops. Not even at night, a constant hum. 1,000 tiny wings vibrating through the thick air, like strings of an invisible lyre strung by fevered hands. You sleep beneath a net woven from coarse flax, but the mosquitoes still find you. They crawl through gaps, cling to your arms, suck from your eyelids. You scratch until you bleed. Your arms are striped with welts, some fresh, some scabbed, some that never truly heal. The physician calls it febris palustris, marsh fever. He says it comes from the mists, from the water that never dries, from the insects that feed on your skin and leave poison behind. He prescribes boiled bark and stale bread. You take both, and still the fever comes. Your house stands on stilts, wooden legs sunk into soft ground that shifts with every season. When the tide swells, you wake to find water sloshing beneath your floorboards. When the wind rises, your walls bend inward, sighing like tired lungs. The roof leaks, the fire won't catch. You wrap your feet in cloth to sleep, but the damp finds you anyway. Your cousin died last week. She was 20. She worked in the salt flats, hauling brine with blistered hands. She came home shivering, teeth chattering like dice in a cup. You sat with her through the night, pressing warm rags to her skin. She muttered names you didn't recognize. By dawn, her lips were blue. You buried her in the wet clay behind the house. The grave fills with water every time it rains. You begin to name the bites. Each new mark gets a name after people, after days, after memories. This one is Lucia, because it bloomed while you remembered your sister. This one is Mercury, because it stung on a Wednesday. You name them to stay sane. You name them because it helps you feel like you're still here. There are others who live like you, fishermen with hollow eyes, children with potbellies from hunger, old women who rub garlic on their skin and claim it keeps the fever away. You meet them in the reeds, trading gossip, trading eggs for herbs, trading silence for company. No one stays long. The marsh keeps secrets, and it keeps people too. The insects are not the only danger. The water carries more than rot. It carries rumors of soldiers who vanish, of tax collectors who never return, of things that move just beneath the surface. You saw one once, or thought you did. A ripple where there should be none. Eyes, then nothing. You do not speak of it. You walk to the city twice a month, to buy salt, to sell fish. The road is narrow, raised above the swamp on crumbling stone. You walk quickly, head down. The mosaics in the basilica shimmer like dreams, reds, blues, golds. You do not enter. You press your forehead to the stone outside, whisper a prayer with no words, then leave. Your mother used to sing, she hasn't in weeks. The fever comes and goes in her now. Some days she's sharp, cursing at the rats. Some days she calls you by your father's name. You hold her hand either way. You boil rice. You bathe her in cold water. You whisper stories into her ear about things that never happened. Gardens, banquets, a house with dry floors, and a roof that doesn't leak. She smiles. Sometimes you light a candle each night. Its flame wavers in the damp air. You place it in the window facing the marsh, not because it guides anyone, but because it marks your place in the world. You are here, you burn. However briefly, the frogs sing, the water laps, the buzzing never stops. You lie awake, skin hot, with fever, breath shallow. You count the bites. You count your heartbeats. You wait for morning. It always comes, but it never brings relief. Only more water, only more wet, only more days to survive. The marble columns shine like ivory in the morning sun. each one polished by hands you'll never see. Above the forum, traders laugh in crisp linen robes, a senados. Sun tosses coins to musicians as if scattering seeds. The scent of roasted lamb and crushed olives drifts on the breeze. But the breeze does not reach where you live. Your street has no name. It twists behind the amphitheater, past the broken fountain, where rats drink and children bathe. The walls are cracked, mud and plaster, sweating salt when the rains come. Your mother boils a pot over a fire made of old furniture and broken crates. The soup tastes of garlic and yesterday's bones. You chew slowly. Your younger brother, Lik, has learned not to ask what's in it. You sleep on a mat made of straw and string. At night, the sounds of the city change. The laughter dims. The music fades. And the voices that remain are sharp, broken things. The cry of a man thrown from a tavern, the moan of a woman with no roof, the low scrape of steel meeting skin. You lie still, hand on Liko's shoulder, waiting for silence to return each morning. You sell pickled onions from a crate. You shout above the other vendors. Your voice is hoarse by noon. The merchant next to you, Arquez, a one-eyed cobbler, gives you a broken sandal in exchange for a handful of beans. You thank him. He nods. No words are wasted here. Taxes come weekly. The collector wears a blue sash and smells of perfume. He walks with guards, iron-capped staves, tapping against the stones like a clock counting your coins. He takes what he wants, always more than you have. You offer a cracked dish and 2 dried apricots. He spits near your feet. Next week, he says. With interest, you nod. You do not meet his eyes. Your neighbor, a girl named Tana, sharpens knives for butchers. She is 12. Her hands are calloused. Her eyes hold no childhood. She traded a gold earring last week for a lump of coal. Now she wears string in one ear. You talk sometimes. Not about dreams, no one has those, but about things that are gone. Bread that came warm. Soap that smelled like flowers. Stories told by candlelight. The preacher stands on the corner every 5th day. He speaks of demons in disguise. He says Carthage is cursed, rebuilt atop the ashes of its sins. He waves a scroll and points to the sky. You don't listen, but others do. They nod, drop pebbles into his bowl, whisper prayers with eyes closed to tight. Faith, here, is a currency, too, though worth less than bread. Your mother remembers the sea. She speaks of it sometimes, in whispers, as she stirs the pot. The waves were green, she says, not blue, not here, never here. You ask her where she saw them. She only smiles, as if the answer is a secret not even the gods deserve. Rain falls in the 3rd week. It comes hard and sudden, flattening the laundry lines, flooding the alleys. The roof leaks. You place pots to catch the water, then drink from them. Liko laughs when the biggest drops splash into his face. For a moment, it feels like joy. For a moment, the slums of Carthage are clean, but then the fever comes. Children. Wheeze coughs echo through the brick corridors. You press cool cloth to Liko's neck. He mutters in his sleep, fingers twitching. You hold his hand and whisper stories of lions and golden apples. You speak gently, though your voice shakes. By morning, he breathes easier. You thank no one, not the gods, not fate, only the cloth, only the fire you manage to keep burning all night. You feed him a spoonful of broth and pretend it tastes like meat. He smiles. You do not cry. At the edge of your alley stands a wall. It is high-topped with red tile, behind which the merchant, Families sleep. You sometimes press your ear to it. On feast days, you hear liars' laughter, the clink of wine poured into glass. You imagine yourself there, not to join, but to see, to know the faces that do not look down, that do not look at all. You once climbed it, years ago when your arms were stronger and your heart more foolish. You saw the gardens green and jeweled with fountains. You saw grapes hanging heavy on silver dishes. You saw a girl your age, dressed in silk, laughing as she chased a goose. You never climbed again. Carthage remembers her past. She wears marble now. She sings the song of empire. But beneath her feet, in the cracks between stones, your world waits hungry, watching still. The slums hold her breath, and you, with all your scars and silence, are part of that breath. You fall asleep, listening to the rats in the rafters. Lico curls close, warm despite the cold. The fire burns low. The stars outside flicker like coins dropped into a dark fountain. You wonder if someone, somewhere, still remembers you, and if not, you will remember yourself. The sun in Asia Minor doesn't rise. It explodes. It bursts over the jagged hills like a blade drawn too fast, spilling gold across the stone and heat into your lungs before your eyes have finished adjusting. You are already awake, crouched beside the quarry wall, a dull chisel clutched in your hand. The morning bell has not rung, but the day has begun. You know this by the crack in your back, by the blood under your fingernails, by the sound of coughing that echoes across the pit. Like prayer, you are chained to a man named Eben. He was a stonemason once, now he no longer speaks. His eyes are pale with dust. His skin is cracked and grey, like the very marble you are ordered to carve. The chain between your ankles clinks when you walk, scrapes when you kneel, jerks when he stumbles. You move in, rhythm now, not with the wind, not with the seasons, but with each other's pain. The overseer walks the ledge above. He carries a whip not for use, but for reminder. Its handle is worn smooth from years of waiting. He watches your row with the same attention a butcher gives his carcasses. Not cruelty, just habit. You do not look up. Looking up means you might remember the sky. You strike the stone dot once. Twice, the sound rings through your chest. Eben steadies the chisel. You strike again. A sliver of marble falls away, revealing the gleam beneath, white flawless, destined for a column in a temple you will never see. You wonder if the gods will feel the echo of your labor when they step onto that floor. You wonder if they will. Notice the flecks of your blood inside the shine. The dust clings to everything. It lives beneath your eyelids, coats your tongue, turns your sweat into chalk. You piss grey now. Your teeth ache. When the wind changes, the quarry fills with a storm of your own making. Powdered stone, bone-thin and swirling, erasing faces, turning men into shadows. A boy dies before noon. He was new, too small. He swung the pick too hard, cracked the stone wrong, sent a shard into his throat. He fell without a sound. The guards carry him away without ceremony. The chain at his ankle dangles behind them, clinking against the path. Like a question no one answers, you are given no rest. You work until the sun drops behind the ridgeline, until the light grows amber, then violet, until your arms no longer obey. The overseer blows a horn, sharp and short. You drop your tools. You rise with a groan. The chain tightens between you and Eben. He doesn't flinch. The walk to the sleeping pit is silent. You pass rows of half-finished statues, torsos without heads, heads without eyes. Some of them are beautiful. Some look too much like the dead. The stone here is sacred. They say malleable, eternal, but it crumbles just like men. Dinner is a bowl of lentils, cold and gummy. You eat with your fingers. You drink from a tin cup. The water is warm. Eben stares at the floor, his hand shaking. Each time he lifts the spoon, a man beside you sings under his breath, a hymn to Cybele. You do not join. Your voice is too dry. You sleep on bare rock, a blanket if you earn it, a mat if someone dies. The sky is open above, cloudless, silver-pocked, too wide to comfort. You curl beneath your arm. You listen to the moans of the sick, the snores of the exhausted, the endless cough of the dying. You count the stars. You name them for things you miss. One is bread, one is rain. One is the scent of rosemary on your mother's wrist. You dream you are free, that you walk the streets of Antioch. Sandals soft against marble, laughter in your mouth. That your hands are clean, that your lungs are whole, that someone knows your name. You wake with a start. Your hands are clenched. Your mouth is bleeding. The bell rings. Eben rises first. His back cracks like dry wood. He looks at you. For a moment, his eyes are clear. Then he turns. You follow. The sun returns. The dust rises, and the stone waits to be broken. The Nile no longer sings. It groans now, low and sluggish, like a beast overworked and nearing its end. The reeds bend but do not whisper. The fields no longer shimmer. You stand ankle-deep in the irrigation canal, mud sucking at your legs, the sun pressing down on your back with the weight of 100 lashes. A basket of silt hangs from your shoulder, woven from palm and rot. Your arms shake as you lift it. And still, no one tells you to stop. This is not farming. This is extraction. The wheat no longer feeds your family. It is bundled, counted, tallied by men in Roman robes, branded with seals, and carried away on barges. You watch it go, knowing none of it will return. The grain belongs to Rome. The labor belongs to you. You once owned your land. Your father walked it with bare feet, pressing his heel into the dark soil like a priest giving thanks. He built a wall from broken bricks, trained vines along the edge, planted figs near the house where the light touched longest. That wall is gone now. The figs, cut down. The house sold in pieces. First the roof tiles, then the door, then the copper pan that hung by the hearth. You live in a hut with no floor. At night you sleep on woven mats, layered over packed dirt. The insects find you, the wind does not. Your mother coughs beside you, thin and grey and shrinking. You give her boiled onions and silence. She doesn't ask for more. The overseer shouts in Latin. You understand enough, faster, deeper, again. He carries a whip, though he rarely uses it. He does not need to. Hunger does the work for him. Hunger and the promise of rations, a cup of lentils, a measure of beer, a crust of barley. You do what he says. Everyone does. The canals must run straight. Even a bend in the water is punished. You dig with a wooden spade, its edge dulled to a curve. Your hands blister. You wrap them in strips of linen pulled from an old tunic. The linen sticks to your blood. You change it when you can, which is never. There are hundreds of you. Men, boys, the occasional woman. All peasants, all poor, all pressed into service by tax or decree. You don't speak much. You nod. You pass tools. You share what little you have. There is no time for stories. Only work. The sun burns everything. The fields crack by midday. The canal smells of algae and copper. Flies swarm your face. You swat with your sleeve. The buzz never fades. It burrows into your ears, lays eggs in your thoughts. Even in dreams, it follows you. Your cousin died last month. He collapsed while lifting a water jar, just tipped over like a felled tree. His name was Nefer. You called him Mouse because of his quiet laugh. You buried him beside the canal, wall wrapped in his own tunic. You sang the song your grandmother taught you, just one verse. The others had no breath left. You used to believe in gods. Now you believe in weather, in the tilt of the floodwaters, in the patterns of insect swarms, in the face of the overseer when he holds the ration list. You have no shrine, only a shard of pottery with a scratched mark, the eye of Horus, drawn by your own finger. You carry water at dusk. The jars are heavy. Your shoulder bruises. The rope cuts your palms. You spill a little. No one scolds you. No one helps. Everyone is too tired. You walk to the edge of the field and pour it over the rows of barley. The water steams against the heat. The stalks shudder like they're breathing in the distance. The barges leave again. You watch the sails vanish into the dusk, white against the crimson sky. You wonder how long until they reach Alexandria, until the grain becomes bread, until a senator bites into it, seated beneath a shaded pergola, never once imagining the hands that lifted it from mud. At night, you lie beside the canal. The stars blink above you. The frogs sing in the reeds. You press your face into your arms and breathe the scent of clay and sweat and something else, something older. The land remembers you. You're not sure if that's a blessing or a curse. Tomorrow, the overseer will come again. Tomorrow, the canals will crack again, and you will dig. Beneath the marble of Rome, beneath the clang of armor and the echoes of the Senate's speeches, there lies a silence deeper than the Tiber. You feel it long before you see it. The Mamertine vault does not welcome it, devours. Stone, air, voice, all swallowed, all stilled. The guard doesn't speak as he leads you down. The torch in his hand flickers against the curved walls, casting shadows like arms reaching from the damp. The stairwell narrows as you descend. Each step is a protest, stone grinding against stone, dust clinging to your sandals. The smell hits next, sour, old, thick, with rot and iron. You gag, but the guard says nothing. He has smelled worse. They shove you into the chamber. It's not a room, not truly. It's a cavity, a sunken socket beneath the city's skull. The walls sweat. The floor is slick. You stumble, catch yourself on a chain bolted to the stone. You're not bound, not yet, but the chain is a promise. You press yourself into the corner. There are others in the dark, breathing ragged, uneven, a cough, low and wet, a rustle of cloth. No words, no greetings. In Mamertine, language has no purpose. There is nothing to trade, no comfort to offer. You are not people here. You are silence in a jar. Water seeps from the ceiling. It falls, slowly, drop by drop, into a stone basin near the wall. You drink from it later, your hands shaking. The water is cold, sharp, metallic. It tastes like chains. But you drink. Hunger will come. Thirst already has. You remember your trial. The magistrate barely looked at you. He read the charge, conspiracy, sedition, something vague, then nodded. Someone muttered about keeping peace. You shouted, you pleaded. They ignored you. The guard dragged you away before the crowd could even murmur. You were a teacher once. You recited Homer beneath olive trees, your voice echoing off the courtyard walls. Children listened, laughed. You showed them how to read meaning between lines. Now your fingers fumble against the wall, tracing moisture like letters you can't quite remember. Time here is not marked. There are no hours, no bells, only the drip of water, the slow staleness of breath, the twitch of a rat's tail across your foot. You close your eyes and open them again. The darkness does not change. It clings, it presses, it speaks in murmurs. Only the lost understand. Someone beside you prays. Not aloud you feel the rhythm of lips moving, a rustle of cloth as fingers form signs. You do not interrupt. Whatever God listens here must be ancient, must be deaf, must be buried as deep as you. You eat when the hatch opens, once. A day, perhaps. Maybe less. A hand pushes a bowl of mash through the slot. You eat with your fingers. It tastes of nothing, but it fills your belly. That is enough. One day they bring another. A young woman. Her eyes burn even in the dark. She says nothing, sits. In silence, after a while, she hums a tune, broken, slow, half-remembered. You recognize it, a harvest song, from Etruria, maybe. You hum with her, barely, 2 notes, then none. That night, you dream of open air, not of home, not anymore, but simply air, the scent of pine, the cool kiss of rain, a breeze that does not reek of stone. You wake with your hand clenched. Your nails have broken the skin. More days pass. The man with the cough no longer breathes. They take his body. You watch his feet drag across the stone. The woman hums again. You hold the chain and imagine it's something else, a rope, a vine, a thread leading out of the dark. You hear voices above, laughter, a shout, the rumble of carts. You remember that life goes on just feet above your head, that Rome moves, glitters, dines, dances, that you have been buried alive beneath her pride, and yet you still breathe, still drink, still wait, not for release, not for justice. Those things are myths here. You wait because that is what the living do in the grave. They wait. They called it peace. The messengers came first, riding hard through the river valleys, draped in red and bronze, declaring the war over. No more legions marching, no more smoke, rising from hill forts, no more screaming in the woods, just peace. You watched from the thatched roof of your father's barn as they passed. You did not cheer. You had no breath left for cheering. Peace, it turned out, wore a new face. Not soft, not generous, just unfamiliar. It came in the form of a new tax collector, his boots still stained from the last village. It came in laws read aloud in Latin, repeated in broken Gaulish, then written on tablets no one could read. It came with scales that always tilted against you. You work the fields now, your fields, but not truly. The boundary stones have changed. The Roman map says the land belongs to the empire. The grain you grow feeds men you will never meet. The new overseer, Publius, rides through twice a week, counting sacks with fingers soft from quills. He tells you how much to grow, how much to give, what to keep. You ask nothing. Asking is dangerous. Your cousin, dressed, refused. He spat when they demanded his oxen, said he'd rather starve than feed the men who burned his sister's house. They made an example of him. tied him to the crossroads, left him there for 3 days. Now he doesn't speak, doesn't move, just sits by the stream, staring into the reeds. You plough with your own shoulders. The oxen are gone, sold or taken. You strap the wooden yoke across your chest, and your brother pushes from behind. The soil is heavy, rocky, each furrow a wound carved into land that no longer knows your name. You whisper old songs while you work, not because you believe in them, but because silence cuts deeper than blades. The forest has been cleared. Where once your ancestors gathered mistletoe under moonlight, now there are roads, straight ones, unnatural, made from gravel and spite. Along them march soldiers, not in columns, but in pairs, relaxed, arrogant. You do not meet their eyes. You bow your head as they pass, but you watch them, always. You count them. They say this is progress, that Rome brings roads and order, that Rome brings baths and laws, that Rome brings civilization. You look at the stump where the sacred oak once stood. You look at the stone altar with a Roman eagle carved crudely atop your gods. You do not speak, but your silence is not agreement. It is preservation. Your mother no longer speaks of the old festivals. She pretends the equinox is just another day. But in the early dark, she still lays flowers at the threshold, still burns herbs in a cracked bowl, still touches her fingers to her lips and then to the hearthstone. She says it's for warmth. You let her believe that the children learn Latin now. A tutor comes once a month. He smells of wax and arrogance. He teaches them to recite the names of Roman emperors, Roman cities, Roman gods. You watch your sister struggle to pronounce Iapita with her broken teeth. You do not correct her. One morning, the taxmen return. They demand your last goat. You offer honey instead, carefully collected, bottled with cloth soaked in time. It is not enough. They take the goat. Your brother shouts. You silence him with a look. There is no space left for defiance, only survival. That night, your mother weeps, not loud, just a trembling in her shoulders. You hold her gently. You press your forehead to hers. The fire crackles. Outside, the wind carries voices, distant, foreign, full of pride. Rome sleeps peacefully. You do not in your dreams. The forest still stands, whole, dark, sacred. You run barefoot through ferns, breathless with freedom. You hear your father's voice. You taste honey from his hand. Then you wake, your mouth full of dust. You rise before dawn. You wrap your hands in cloth. You pick up the plough. The field waits. So does Rome. White stretches forever. The sun above reflects against the salt below, turning the air into a shimmer, a burning veil that wavers with every step. You squint, but it makes no difference. The brightness presses into your skull, blinding you from within. The salt flats of Dalmatia are silent, except for the wind and the low rasp of wooden tools scraping against earth that no longer feels like earth at all. Your tunic clings to your back, soaked with sweat and salt water. The cloth hardens by midday, stiff as bark. You crack it when you bend. Around you, other workers move slowly, heads bowed, faces wrapped in cloth. No one speaks. There is no need. The labor speaks for all of you. You drag a rake behind you. Its teeth bite into the crusted surface, lifting curls of salt and brine into a shallow pile. You do this over and over, your arms a machine, your breath a rhythm. A soldier watches from the edge of the field, leaning against his spear. He picks at his fingernails. You wonder if he even remembers why you're here. You are not a criminal. Not officially, you were conscripted, sent here after a failed harvest and a missed tax. Salt work, they called it, a contribution to the empire. You signed the tablet because you had no choice. Now you walk in. Circles beneath a sky that does not blink dot. The salt cuts, it seeps into your wounds, invisible and constant. Your ankles burn. Your palms split. You wear wrappings, but they tear. The salt is stronger than linen, stronger than leather, stronger than skin. You no longer feel the sting, only the numbness that follows. At midday, you rest in the shadow of a broken cart. It leans sideways, half sunk in the pale crust. Someone once tried to drag it back to the storehouse, but the wheels locked, the wood swelled, and it never moved again. Now it serves as shade. You sit beneath it, sharing the space with a woman from Thessaly. She doesn't give her name. She offers you a piece of dried fish instead. You nod and take it. Your mouth is too dry to chew. You hold it in your cheek. Like a prayer, the shift whistle blows. You rise. The sky is the same color as the ground, endless, merciless. You step back into the light. The salt crunches beneath your sandals like old bones. You rake again. You rake until your shoulders scream. Then you rake more. Once you slipped. The brine pool was shallow, only to your knees, but the salt filled your boots instantly. It scoured your skin raw. The pain lasted for days. You wore no shoes after that. You walk barefoot now, feet wrapped in bandages soaked in oil. The others do the same. The salt preserves nothing here, only pain. You dream of rain, not water in barrels, not dew on the grass, but real rain. Thick, heavy, dark with soil. You remember it from childhood, standing beneath a thatched awning, arms outstretched, mouth open. You remember the taste. Now you taste only blood. The overseer speaks once a day. He reads the quotas, tallies, the sacks. Sometimes he writes names in his ledger. Names of those who worked enough. Names of those who did not. One name disappears each week. No one asks why. No one dares. At night, you sleep near the storehouse. The salt is quieter then. The wind dies down. The stars appear. They look colder here, brittle, distant, watching. You wrap yourself in your cloak, though it offers little warmth. The salt has crept into the seams. It stings your neck as you lie still. A boy cries in his sleep. You do not comfort him. He will learn in the morning. The flats will be white again. The sun will rise, just as merciless. And you will rake, because the empire needs salt. And you are part of the price. You wake before the sun, though the sky is already uneasy. The birds, usually loud on the rooftops at first light, are silent. You notice the stillness before anything else, not the kind that brings peace, but the kind that follows a breath held too long. The shutters creak as you open them. The air smells of ash, though no fires burn nearby. Far off, near the base of Vesuvius, a plume rises, pale at first, then darkening, like ink dropped into a bowl of milk. You frown. You've seen that mountain cough before, but this feels different. You light the stove. Your daughter, barely 8, stirs on the mat behind you. Her name is Aaliyah. Her hair tangles in sleep, her breath warm and steady. You prepare the same breakfast you always do, a bit of barley mash, a few olives saved from the market. She eats slowly, watching you. Her silence tells you she feels it too. Your house sits at the edge of the city, near the garden walls, nestled between a dyer's shop and a cobbler's stall. It's not large, 2 rooms, 1 window, but it is yours. Was your husband's once before the fever took him, before the debts came, before the neighbors stopped calling. You clean in silence, sweeping dust that feels heavier than usual. The chickens haven't made a sound. The ground is dry, too dry, and then a tremor. Just a flicker beneath your feet, like the world shrugging off a bad dream. You stop moving. Aaliyah looks up. You meet her gaze. Neither of you speaks. Later, you walk to the market. The streets are quieter than they should be. The fruit stalls are half filled. A butcher argues with no one. A stray dog howls, long, low, unsettling. Above it all, the column of smoke has grown. Now it pulses upward in bursts, as if the mountain is exhaling. Aaliyah asks, is it angry? You want to laugh. You don't. It's just a storm, you say. She nods, trusting you. You wish she WOULDN, single quotes. At midday, the tremors return. Stronger tiles fall from a roof across the street. A merchant shouts. Someone runs. You gather your daughter in your arms and return home. The ash is falling now, soft, grey, floating like snow. A strange hush settles over the city. Even the fountains sound afraid. You close the shutters. You dampen cloth and hang it over the window. You pack a small sack, bread, coins, water in a clay jar. Your hands shake. The last thing you take is a small figurine, a household god. Carved by your husband years ago, his face has faded. You press it to your lips. When the sky darkens, it does not do so slowly. It happens as if a hand draped the heavens in mourning. The light vanishes. The ash thickens. You hold Aaliyah close. She asks if it's night. You say yes, though it is not. Not really. The walls tremble again. You hear shouting. Somewhere a building collapses. You do not leave. You have nowhere to go. The streets are filled with panicked feet, and you know how easy it would be crushed, to be lost. You light a single oil lamp and sit beneath the table, your arms wrapped around your daughter. The ash slips through cracks. It gathers on the floor. Your skin itches. Your eyes water. You hum an old lullaby, one your mother sang to you, something about the moon and the olive trees. Aaliyah hums with you, her small fingers wrapped in your sleeve. The house groans. The roof creaks. The light sputters. You whisper prayers, not to Jupiter, not to the empire's gods, but to your husband, wherever he waits. You ask him to keep your daughter safe, to keep her from fear, to keep her from pain. You do not pray. For yourself, the heat comes suddenly. The air thickens, pressing against your lungs. You hold your breath. Aaliyah coughs. You press her face into your shoulder. You close your eyes, and then stillness. The mountain falls quiet. The city sleeps beneath ash, and your house becomes a tomb of silence and love. The creak of wood is constant. It moans with every wave, a hollow cry that rises through the hull like breath from a dying throat. You lie pressed against the curved wall of the ship's lower deck, your cheek on the damp planks, your hands bound in front of you. Salt water drips slowly from the beams above. You count the drops. Not to mark time, you lost that long ago, but because it's the only sound not born of pain. You do not remember the last day on land. They took you near the market. You were walking with your cousin, arms full of reed baskets. Someone shouted, a struggle. then cloth over your mouth, fists like stone, a voice calling your name like it was already being forgotten. The next thing you knew, you were here, shackled, named only as cargo. This is a grain ship. You know that much. It carries Alexandrian wheat to feed the mouths of Rome, and among the sacks, in the dark, beneath the deck, it carries you and 30 others, packed tight knees to ribs, breath to breath. Some cry, some pray, most simply. Endure. The air is thick, too thick. You breathe shallow, tasting brine and vomit, the sourness of unwashed bodies and fear. Someone coughed blood last night. It splashed onto your arm, warm and sticky. You wiped it away with your sleeve. There is nowhere to clean it. The ship is too full, too heavy, too careless. The guards above shout often. They drink. You hear the slosh of wine, the scrape of dice on wood, laughter like broken glass. One of them sings at night. His voice is hoarse, and the song has no melody. Just words in a tongue you don't know, perhaps Greek, perhaps Latin. You stopped listening days ago. Food comes once a day. A bowl of something grey, bread so hard it bruises your teeth. You eat with your fingers, fighting for scraps like dogs. One man tried to hoard a piece. They beat him until he stopped moving. The guards left him there until the smell became too much. Then they dragged him up. No one speaks of him. You've learned to balance with the waves. When the ship lists left, you shift right. When it dips forward, you brace your knees. Still, the motion gnaws at your stomach. You vomit often. Everyone does. The deck floor is slick with it. The rats eat well sometimes. You dream. Not of escape. Not anymore. You dream of your brother's laugh, of warm figs, of the sound your mother made when kneading dough, a soft sigh with every push. You dream of your name, not the one they shout here, but the one that belonged to you before you were made property. Rain falls on the 4th day. You hear it pattering on the deck above. The sailors collect it in pots. None is brought down. You suck on your fingers, hoping to catch the memory of moisture. Your throat is cracked. Your lips split when you speak, so you don't. A boy beside you cries out in his sleep. He mutters for his father. You reach out, not to comfort, just to remind him he is not alone. Your fingers brush his. That is enough. You both go quiet again. A storm comes on the 5th night. You feel it before you hear it. The drop in pressure, the sudden stillness, then the roar of wind. The ship jerks sideways, chains rattle, people scream, water spills through the seams. The guards shout above, but their voices are swallowed by thunder. You are tossed into the wall, your shoulder bruising against the beam. Something cracks. You think it might be your arm. You do not move. You wait. The storm passes. Slowly, by morning, one of the women has died. They do not say her name. They pull her body from the tangle of limbs and drag it above. A moment later, the splash, then silence. The sea takes her gently, more gently than men did. That afternoon, a guard opens the hatch. Sunlight pours in. It burns your eyes. You cover your face with your elbow. For a second, just 1 second, you see blue sky, open, boundless. The kind of blue that reminds you are still alive. Then the hatch closes. Darkness returns. But you remember the blue. You hold it like breath. The beads at the doorway clatter like teeth. Bone or shell, it doesn't matter. They rattle every time the curtain is pulled aside, and the sound has carved itself into your spine. You hear it in your sleep. You hear it when the room is silent. You hear it even now, though no one stands in the threshold. You sit on the edge of the bed, fingers stiff, lips painted with crushed berries that taste of nothing. Your hair is oiled, your feet bare, your dress too thin for the chill that leaks through the stone walls. The lamp flickers low. You are already someone else. The brothel lies in the back alleys of Lugdanum, where the streets are tight and the gutters never quite dry. A red cloth above the door marks the place, faded now, more brown than red, stained with years of rain and glances. There are 7 of you who live here, sleep here, work here. You do not use names, only roles, only smiles. When he comes in, he does not knock, they never do. He is drunk. His breath sours the air. He touches your face like it is a surface to be measured, not a thing that feels. You guide him to the bed. You let the curtain fall behind him. You do what is expected. You do it well. You leave nothing behind when he goes. Not a kiss, not a mark, not a memory. You clean the sheets with a wet cloth. The basin water is cold. The rag is fraying. The stain spreads before it fades. You do not look at it. You do not look at yourself. There is a small mirror above the washstand, bronze polished until it reflects. You haven't used it in weeks. Later, you sing to yourself a song your mother used to hum while mending nets. Something about the river and the reeds and the wind. You change the ending sometimes. Make it happier. In your version, no one drowns. At dawn, you serve wine to a man who never takes off his shoes. He pays in coin and silence. You sit beside him while he drinks, his hand resting on your thigh like a forgotten book. He leaves before the sun fully rises. You keep the coin. You do not remember his face. In the corner of the room is a small window. You wipe the condensation from the glass every morning. Draw circles in it. Sometimes your name. The fog always returns. It swallows the letters. You wonder if you'll forget how to write it. One of the other women bleeds again. Not from her monthlies, from her mouth. A blow, she says, she fell. You do not ask. You hold her hand while she sleeps. You hum the river song. When she stirs, you let go. The mistress of the house counts the earnings nightly. She smells of clove and sweat. Her hands are always warm. She tells you to smile more, to speak less, to keep your dress low and your thoughts lower. You nod. You are good at nodding. Once, a man kissed your wrist. He said you reminded him of someone lost. His eyes were sad. He paid double and left without touching you. You kept the coin and the memory. They are the same now. You keep a box beneath your bed. Inside, a dried fig, a shard of sea glass, and a strip of fabric from a dress you once wore in childhood. They are not valuable, but they are yours. You open the box when the night is too long. You close it before morning. The streets outside swell with voices, soldiers shouting, merchants calling, a baby crying in the courtyard. You hear the city live, and yet you do not feel part of it. You are its breath, not its body. When men leave you, they leave the door open. You always close it. Before sleep, you kneel by the hearth. You press your forehead to the floor, not to pray. There are no gods here, only embers, only warmth that fades. Still, you whisper your name into the stone, just once, just to hear it aloud. You are small, smaller than the sandals that blister your feet, smaller than the tunic you stole from a corpse behind a wine shop, smaller than the eyes that pass over. You each day, seeing not a child but a nuisance, or worse, nothing at all, The Appian Way stretches before you like a cracked river, white stones shimmering under the high sun. You walk its edge, barefoot now. The sandals gave you blisters that burst, and the smell of rot drove even the crows away. Now, your soles are leathered by dirt and heat. The stones are hot, but the shadows are colder. You learn to walk both. Your parents were real once. Your father carved wooden toys for coin. Your mother baked bread that tasted of time. You remember the way her hands moved in the dough. Slow, strong, certain. You remember her song. She sang it to the oven. She sang it to you. Then came the fever. You watched her sweat into the sheets. Watched your father carry water. Watched their breaths slow in the night. You buried them in the alley behind the lemon tree, using a borrowed trowel and your hands. The neighbors brought no food, only silence. That was 79 days ago. You stopped counting after that. Now you walk. Sometimes you beg. You find a place beside the milestones, carved numbers worn smooth by centuries of wheels and war. You sit there, hands open, eyes lowered. A few passers-by drop coins, some toss crusts. Most pretend not to see you. One senator spat near your feet. The spit hit your ankle. You wiped it off and bowed your head. You know which bakeries leave scraps behind. You wait until dusk, until the dogs have finished. You chew crusts damp with wine and dust. You learned not to gag. Hunger is better than pride. Nights are the worst. You sleep in doorways when you can, wrapped in a linen sack that once held olives. When it rains, you find arches, stone bridges, ruined temples. You sleep pressed into corners, knees to chest, hands on belly, as if to hold in the hunger. One night, a man tried to take your sack. You bit him, he bled. You ran. You do not know if he chased you. You did not turn back. You trade what you find, a brass buckle for half an onion, a bundle of nettles for a sip of goat's milk. Once, a girl your age gave you a plum. It was overripe, warm from her palm. You licked the juice from your wrist. She smiled. She did not come back the next day. You keep to the way. It feels safer, a thread running through the world, old and straight. You tell yourself that if you walk long enough, someone will notice. Someone will ask your name. Someone will remember. A guard once stopped you. He crouched beside you, asked where your parents were. You pointed toward the wind. He nodded and walked on. You used to cry. The first week, your chest ached with it. You cried for your mother's scent, your father's laugh, the weight of hands around your shoulders. Then the tears dried. Now your throat just tightens. Your eyes blur, but nothing falls. Today, a man in green robes gives you a coin, a real one, not lead, not chipped. You stare at it. You don't know whether to buy food or keep it. You press it into the seam of your tunic. Maybe you'll decide tomorrow. A dog follows you sometimes, thin, like you. Ribs sharp, tail down. You share crusts. He growls if you don't, but he sleeps beside you now. His warmth is worth the cost. You dream still, of bread, of music, of hands wiping your face with warm cloth, of figs dripping honey, of being held, and once, just once, of someone saying your name. You don't remember the sound of it anymore, but in your dream it felt like home. You were none of them, and yet you were all of them, a flicker in the dark, a footstep in snow, a whisper beneath stone. You drift through the empire, not as one soul, but as many scattered like ash on the wind, buried in corners where no triumphal arch casts its shadow. You are the breath in a collapsed tunnel, the last tear shed behind a locked cell. The silence after the mountain sings. There is no map that marks you. Rome boasts of marble and law, conquest and glory. But beneath its polished surface lie these graveyards, quiet, crumbling, unseen. You walk among them now, barefoot and slow. There is no rush here. The worst places wait patiently. Their stories are not loud. They are the slow drip of memory seeping through centuries of forgetting. You walk the mine shaft, still echoing with pickaxe strikes that ended centuries ago. You feel the walls rough, cold, scarred with the labor of nameless hands. You pause beside the collapsed roof. Someone is buried here. Perhaps a boy, perhaps a thief, perhaps someone who once loved music. No one will ever know. But you feel him still. You move through the salt flats, the wind biting, the brine glimmering like broken glass beneath your feet. You see the outlines of bodies bent under the sun, skin split by salt, tongues swollen with thirst. You hear the whistle. A signal to start, a signal to stop. But no one moves now. Only the wind answers. You kneel in a corner of a ruined tenement. You touch the scorched floor where a mother once carried her child through flame. You smell the smoke still caught in the stone, hear the wood groan as if it remembers. You close your eyes and see her again, arms shaking, voice hoarse, hope as fragile as breath. The empire called these places distant, harsh, necessary, but they were never just. Places, they were people. People who shivered under tattered cloaks, who dug graves for their brothers, who sang lullabies in burning cities, who knelt beside dying. Fields, who watched the stars through prison bars, who lived long, quiet lives that left no mark but ache. You rest now. The stars blink above you, soft and slow, without judgment. You lie on the earth where no whip cracks, no orders echo, no coin is demanded. The ground is warm from the day. The grass leans gently in the breeze. There is no monument here, no carved name, only stillness, and in that stillness, remembrance. The worst places do not scream, they breathe, and now so do you. As the dust settles and the night wraps its arms around this forgotten journey, may you carry these voices gently. Subscribe if you'd like to wander again through the shadows, through the stillness, through history's quiet corners, and tell me which place stayed with you the most. Could you have survived in any of these forgotten corners of Rome? Which life, the soldier, the widow, the child, echoed deepest in your heart?